Hello my loves, welcome back to Zeke's Lunchbox. Today we're going to have a little chat with my tarot card partner. We've never had a public chat with you guys and really letting you know exactly what our dynamic is, all the planning that goes behind the project, reflecting on the last 2 years and seeing how it's all been developing. I also think discussing the launch and how COVID-19 is going to affect all of that. Yeah, I just want to chat about everything and catch you guys up. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about and you're new here, over the last 2 years I've been working on a tarot card project. Everyone who has followed me from the early days and you're still here, thank you so much. I've been learning so much with this tarot card project and there's just so many things that we just didn't expect, and especially the length of how long the project would go for. So thank you everyone who has stuck around, but also if you're new here, I've got a tarot card playlist featuring all of the tarot card projects, artworks, update videos. Basically, you just see the whole evolution with the playlist below. So if you want to catch up, head over there, or if you want a refresher, head over there as well. This time last year, Julian and I had another discussion where we asked you guys to ask us some questions about tarot, and then we did a little Q&A about that. This time we will be asking each other some questions and spilling some tea. I hope we're not gonna cause any arguments or fights, or I hope it's not too awkward and I get called out. Basically, I want to put everything out on the table so you guys are caught up on exactly what's happening, and we're just practicing a lot of honesty and managing expectations for the tarot card project. Before we head into that though, I am doing a little celestial theme here, and you'll see what I mean in a second. But if you want to grab the tarot pins, I've got the moon and sun pin. These are both inspired by my tarot cards, the sun and moon, obviously. Also, I am selling the backgrounds that Julian and I will have in the interview coming up. So if you're interested in having a really cool Zoom or Skype background, I've got those on my shop as well. I will speak to you guys after our little chat. Hi, Julian.
Hey. So fish.
Beautiful backgrounds.
I know. What genius made them?
So I've already kind of let everybody know what this video is about, and we're just chatting about how everything's going. And I mentioned last year's video that we did where everybody asked us questions, but this time around we're asking each other questions just to update the whole project. I don't know, how are you feeling about everything so far?
I'm feeling good. I mean, obviously, like, this whole corona thing has really thrown me and I think everyone for a bit of a loop, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I was a bit sort of just mucking around for ages.
I think everyone is definitely feeling that, like, that collective overwhelming feeling where we just feel like, there's just, you're all over the place. You're just mourning your life, you know?
Yeah.
I know we had planned launching at the end of this year. We've never put that date out there for people, but I don't know how much that's going to push everything back.
Yeah, well, I mean, the obvious one is just like manufacturing issues. Like potentially the places that would usually manufacture might not even be open. So that's one challenge. I guess the other one is just thinking about where everyone else's heads are at. But I feel like in general, like what we're doing is like a really nice project and something that people are really looking forward to. So I don't think, I think if anything, launching it will be a nice distraction for people, So yeah, I'd like to get it out there and, give people something to look forward to, I guess.
Also, who knows, in the last month, things have changed so much. Or, I don't know, the last 5 weeks, everyone's where we were and where our mindset was so different. So who knows where the end of the year will be. Maybe we'll snap back. Who knows? I'm really hoping, the manufacturing issue just won't be a thing then.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'm like a little bit like worried / also just curious to see how it just affects people's, I don't think interest, but like ability to kind of buy cards and things like that. Because obviously some people might not have their jobs anymore or really trying to save and things like that. So yeah, it's just like, it's just so many, like you said, like it's just changing so much all the time and so many unpredictable factors that it's just really hard to say.
Lots of variables, but I have to say, I think everybody who has put all their time in cultivating an internet following or an internet-based business, I think everyone in that element is really thriving right now because we're all just on our screens. I know I'm feeling it as a YouTube creator and also my online store, like things have just stayed the same. So I'm hoping, I mean, if anything, I've got more attention now because people have a lot more time to dedicate to like watching videos.
Totally.
So
we were living like a digital life before. We're like living like a hyper digital life now.
Oh, yes, incredibly. We are in the hyper digital world right now.
Yeah. This is actually, we're actually just in the computer. There is no back. This isn't a background. This is just where I live.
Going back to a couple of years ago, let's talk about the genesis of this project, because I think a lot of people don't realize that this project was actually your idea.
Like, how far back do you want to go? Because I had this idea when I was a kid.
Okay, well then start there.
Like, okay, so my cousin and I have this joke that our family is really into like what we call the hippie hustle. So it's basically it's like a weird mix of like you know, sort of interest in new agey things and all of that, but also always trying to figure out like how to make a little product out of it or like sell something from it. So that's what we call the hippie hustle in our family. And when I was a kid, my mum told me that I should draw some tarot cards and it'd be really cool because we could like print them and like make a product out of them. And for some reason that has kind of stuck with me. I was always really fascinated with the cards as well. I'm not a great artist or anything, so I never really got around to it. But it just always, the idea stuck with me. And then, so what, like 2 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, I think the end of 2017.
Yeah. So my colleague Mark and I still have, but it's not that active, but we had an agency called Fight Group that do kind of creative work for businesses and charities. So at the time we'd done some really cool work for Food Bank, but what we found is that because I'm a strategist and he's a copywriter, our work was a little bit more like up here rather than visual. Like the writing was pretty good and the ideas we were happy with, but like some of the visual executions we weren't that happy with in retrospect. Like we were sort of, like one example was we made this video and then the guy that we were working with said, we should color grade this. It would cost like about $1,000 or something. And Mark and I were just like, no, we don't need that. And then, and then sure enough, like it comes back and we're like, oh, this doesn't look as good as it could, it doesn't really pop. So we were kind of looking for a way to give our Fight like a more of a visual project, something that is really unique and colorful and interesting. And we didn't just want to wait for a client to come along who might have a project that fits that mold. We wanted to kind of be proactive and come up with something ourselves. So that's when I remembered like this idea of like a tarot deck and I think we really like artist collaboration in general. So we approached you about doing this deck together and kind of basically creating a product that originally was going to sit under the sort of Fight Group label, but
it kind of veered off pretty quickly after that. I mean, it wasn't planned, but I think kind of necessary. It really, this project just turned into such a like passion project and has been completely against anything really practical.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Really devolved into just like two crazy people like getting really passionate about tarot.
No, totally. And Mark sort of ended up wanting to focus on some other things, and so
so it worked out in the end.
So then we kind of partnered instead of doing it through that, which I think I agree, it's better because it just gives us more time to get it right and like really put our passion into it rather than just thinking about it.
It's interesting. To me it seems like you've got an interest in comics and like Dungeons and Dragons, so I feel like you've always wanted to do something like a visual project, either like write a comic or some kind of story. So
Yeah,
this
for
feels like
sure.
it's kind of dipping your toes into that. I don't know. What would you say?
Yeah, definitely. And like I really like yeah, I like writing a lot, and researching and things like that. But it's even better when you can collaborate with someone who's like more visual, because it just widens the scope of what you can do by so much. And like obviously Zeke's Lunchbox is all about kind of like world building, and I definitely am too. I really like that aspect of creativity. So I think in that sense we work together pretty well. Like
I think for me, I've always wanted like somebody else to work with when it comes to like story building. I because I did the world building part and the visual part, I didn't have the other side of it. So I felt like, yeah, um this exchange really worked well in our favor.
yeah, for sure, for sure. It's yeah, it's kind of like a writer artist kind of partnership.
We've been like, while working on this, brainstorming all of these other projects that we could work on, and it's just been so so distracting. I always find that like the next thing or the next idea is always really exciting at the time, but the execution is always like the other half of it, you know. I think just us sticking with it for the last 2 years has been, I don't know, just a pure test of will.
Yeah, it's such a big lesson there. Like, and yeah, I mean, it's like that. It's the stuff that you always hear, like the obvious stuff. That like everyone can have a good idea, but like actually executing the idea is the hard part. And also that lag between like where your vision of it is and then like actually getting there can be kind of frustrating, and it can be really easy to go, oh well, I might go do this other thing or like whatever. But then you know those ideas always just remain kind of like in your imagination, and you know you don't get to see that physical thing. That's why I think it was good to have some print runs of the cards in between, because it kind of made it more real, and like it was really exciting to have some cards in our hands.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. I think I remember a while ago I read an interview with James Gerard, who's another artist that I know, and he always said that
Yeah, he's
you
awesome.
you owe it to the idea to complete the final product. You can't just like keep sitting around and like dreaming up all of these beautiful ideas. Like the hard part
Yeah,
has to actually, you know.
totally. Because then you might as well just be like one of those people who like does like tells you about their great like script idea or something.
Okay, I'm gonna have to edit that out.
PG, PG. Keep it PG, Jules.
I gotta be monetized somehow, dude. Well, let's talk about how long it's taken. I think for me, I've always, just to fill everybody in from the last 2 years, I moved to a new city at the beginning of 2018, and then I pursued art full time at 2018 and also took on this project. So it was a lot of things happening at once. And I think I wouldn't know if we didn't take it on then, but it was just, we had no idea how massive it was. I knew like discussing it, it was going to be really big, but I didn't realize it would be this big. I also feel like this project has been really humbling. But yeah, even as an artist, I've grown so much with this
Yeah,
project. I don't
definitely.
know, how about you with like your writing skills? Do you think you've improved in the last couple of years from this project?
I hope so. I think, to be honest, like I think you've done a lot of the heavy lifting, and I've kind of felt like I was more in an assisting role. So maybe not so much from those skill sets, but like in terms of learning how like the sausage is made, it's been really helpful for me, because you know I've had to reach out to different manufacturers, and sort of understand like economies of scale, and you know sometimes you have to make decisions between like what's the ideal thing that you think is really awesome versus like what's achievable, and you know right for the people who want to buy it, and yeah, doing a lot of research around that. So I think in that sense it's been really cool. So again, like going from just having like an idea to actually bringing it to life, like there's all this sort of nitty gritty stuff that goes into it that you don't consider, but if you really want to bring something to life, you need to. That's kind of been the biggest thing for me, I think.
I wouldn't be able to do any of this without you researching like manufacturers and all the costings. Like that's just a whole different part of the business that I am not accustomed to. I think I think to be successful, you do need another partner to be, I don't know, the back end of the whole monster. It'd be way too difficult to do it.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Jules.
But I think this relationship's like a symbiotic relationship, surely. Like,
No, for sure. You know, I believe that if you had infinite time and weren't, you know, spending your days doing amazing paintings and videos, you'd totally be able to, you know, go and figure out how to work with this manufacturer or something. But the reality is, like, you know, people have different skill sets.
How long would that take, though?
Yeah, how long would it take? And, like, limited time and all of those things, and limited energy as well. So it's super nice to have someone to be able to bounce stuff off. And it's also just good for keeping each other on track. Like, definitely, I think there's been different times throughout the project where, like, one person has kept the other person on track, like, in both directions. So that's really...
If I didn't have you to, you know, chat about all the ins and outs, relay all of this information to, first I wouldn't have someone to, like, actually discuss the artwork with and figure out what works. But the motivation factor, for sure, like, I try and keep on a tighter schedule, and especially this year I feel like I've more mastered exactly how to balance everything.
For sure.
I think having you be there as, like, accountability has been so essential. I would have completely given up on this project, like, months ago, years ago. I think a year in we were like, well, we can't give up now.
Yeah, totally. It would be like...
We've done so much work. To not have a final product is such a waste, and you owe it to the idea, going back to what I said.
Yeah, and you know what else it is like the enthusiasm from people's been, like, amazing.
Yes. Oh, for sure. I feel like I get a DM every single day being like, I can't wait for the tarot card project. And it's a double-edged sword, because it's like, I'm so excited people are excited, but at the same time, shut up.
It's like, oh, no pressure.
The pressure's on. I kind of wanted to chat about further, like, how the tarot cards, like, how do they serve a customer or somebody buying them?
It sort of seems like two things happening. Like, number one is people that are more interested in tarot and, like, I guess new agey kind of projects and things are sort of getting turned on to Zeke, which is cool. So, like, there's a bunch of you know, Facebook groups and things like that around this that I've shared some of the work with, and they get really excited about it. The groups is that they've just been blown away by the artwork, that they just love it. For them, it's like a really personal exercise, and so they need to feel like a personal connection to the cards. It's not just about having, like, the right symbols, it's also about, like, how those things make you feel and, like, what sort of thoughts they inspire with you. And then the second thing is that it seems like a lot of people who were already fans of yours have turned out to also be tarot fans.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny how that's worked out. I am seeing a lot of people who are, like, learning from this project and learning along with us, which has been really exciting. I think, like, a couple of years ago we mentioned, or maybe last year, like, we're learning about tarot as well. Like, we didn't know anything prior to all of this. So it's been really cool learning about the history and all the different symbols. I think that part of the project will probably stick with me forever. Like, every symbol and every element is very purposeful. I felt like in the early days and in the early cards, I was like, we don't need to adhere to all of these really strict rules in tarot, but now we've, like, really reeled it in and everything is very, very purposeful.
Yeah, it's all there for a reason. It was kind of like, we went kind of back and forth. At first we were kind of like, oh, we don't need that. And then we, like, sort of tried
researched, and then we were like, wait, we do need that.
Yeah, totally.
The color does need to be red.
Yeah, and then I feel like, oh yeah, that's a good example actually. The Hierophant, like, definitely that red touch and stuff came in from, I think, both extra research and, like, also some feedback from people. that like the red for the Hierophant was really really crucial.
I've noticed on the top plane that red is really prevalent along that whole top plane. So, yeah, I think so. For anybody who hasn't watched that video or know that artwork, the Hierophant was completely blue, and then I had to add a little bit of a dip dye red just to actually put some red in there because the red color was really important. I forgot.
Yeah, and it sort of contrasts him to the High Priestess as well. He's sort of like a more like formal kind of expression of spirituality and religion, where the High Priestess is more of like an intuitive kind of expression of that. So those two characters having the different colors is just a nice touch. What's also really cool about working with you is like you always find quite creative solutions to things. So like the way that you kind of almost like dip dyed him is really cool, and it adds that whole element of him kind of passing on his wisdom and knowledge through to like his disciples, which is, you know, so, and in that sense, I think a lot of the time, like now that we've done a fair few cards, we've gotten a bit more confidence where we're not just dogmatically like following every single symbol that's on there, but we're finding like what the key ones are for us and like how we want to kind of express them, which I think is really cool.
I think after all this time, we've really found our groove. I also feel like on a technical level, I'm just so much more confident in drawing and painting what I'm painting. Like the early days, I was struggling so hard. This is going back to what I needed to say before about being humbled. The ego that I had about being like, yeah, I can do that. And then actually practicing it and being like, wait, I really can't do that. I could hardly draw a body prior to this project.
That's crazy. Your anatomy is so good now.
Yeah, I think after just practicing that in 2018, I practiced anatomy a lot. It's funny how whenever you do a project like this, every stereotype and every mantra you've ever heard in your life comes true. It's like, yeah, totally. It's so much harder than you think. Practice, practice, practice.
Especially that one that like I think you showed me this. It's like I can't remember whose quote it is, but it's kind of like you'll always feel this frustration between like your aesthetic sensibilities and what you can actually produce, or for a long time anyway, because a lot of people who get into creating like have seen like, you know, top-notch amazing work and stuff and read, or for me I've read like a lot of really great writing and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do that, but then when I try and write I'm just like, oh, like this is going to take me a bit to actually get to a level that I feel like that I'd be happy consuming, if that makes sense.
I wrote it down here. Did you expect the project to take this long? And yeah, no, you go first.
Yeah, no, like I didn't. I generally I like to have a bit of a like pessimistic outlook on things. So right at the beginning, kept sort of emphasizing like this could take a year, you know, like this could take 2 years, like whatever. But like it definitely has taken longer than expected. But the quality is totally worth the wait, I think.
I didn't think it would take me so long to paint so many pieces, but it's just because I'd never worked on anything to this scale before. So I feel like this project, after doing this and when it's all done and dusted, like any other project after this will feel like nothing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and it'll be so good to have like the physical thing in our hands. I can't wait for that. I'm super excited for that.
Yes, it has taken years to make, but hopefully, you know, it is scalable and that we can just continue to have it for, I don't know, the rest of our lives.
Yeah, for sure. And like it'd be cool to maybe have like some variant boxes and things like that can kind of keep it fresh and like interesting. So yeah, definitely.
Do you think that we'll ever be completely finished with the project in that case? If it's something that we are going to print for years and we do like variations or I don't know, a subsidiary of tarot in some way, do you think that the project will ever be fully complete?
When you say it like that, it sounds like bad to like if it isn't ever fully completed, but I think like
that's kind of an artist's career though. Like artists never are actually finished.
Yeah, until they like die, I guess, or whatever.
Exactly.
But no, that's true. That's cool. Like I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, definitely. Like in that sense, like the project will keep going. And if And also, like, there's a bunch of other stuff that we've spoken about that would be really cool to do together. So, like, our partnership is definitely going to keep going beyond the project, I think.
Yeah, that really all just depends on everyone watching and and being loyal and following through, which I think they will be. It's been like years in the making.
Oh, yeah. And, like, if anything, they're, like, hassling us to get it out.
Yeah.
Like, when can we buy it?
Yeah. Speaking of the length, as soon as the major arcana are done, and I've kind of hinted at this to a lot of people, but I've never officially said it, the minor arcanas are going to be very, very different. We were discussing, like, I definitely have to switch to digital, so I'll be focusing on honing my digital skills. I think I've been meaning to become a better digital artist anyway, because that's just where the industry is at. Pumping out work is just industry standard. So the rate that I'm going right now is just not sustainable in any way. So it was only a matter of time before I had to do that, which I'm actually excited about. Like, again, this project has forced me to do so much that in my mind I thought I was totally capable of, but then as soon as you get it done, not so much. But yeah, I'm really excited for the change in the minor arcanas. They're going to be, they'll still live in the same universe, but they will be different at the same time.
Yeah, a bit more conceptual, right? Like a little bit more...
a little bit more abstract.
Abstract, yeah, exactly. And yeah, with the digital stuff, remember we were talking about how, like, in a way, with having like a sort of a fine art and like physical painting background will be really good though, because it sort of teaches you, like, I think it teaches you a certain amount of like discipline around, especially around like colors and things like that, and just sort of craft skills. So we're saying, like, it will be like in Dragon Ball Z when they train with the weights on, like they've got the weights on and then they take the weights off and they're just like, oh, like, I
know. I mean, I'm really excited. One of my biggest issues over the last couple of years, and just being an artist in general, is having an idea and executing it. And I discuss this a lot with my art friends. When you're about halfway through, especially if you're working traditionally, you're working halfway through and you're so over the concept. You just want it done. You're not excited about it anymore. I think being a digital artist and being able to pump out work a lot quicker, I think is going to just invigorate me a lot more and keep me really like excited about making work.
That's so true. The whole thing with getting like a project, off the ground and actually finishing it. Sometimes I feel like torn between telling people about like an idea that I have and not telling them, because I feel like sometimes telling people can almost be like a substitute, because you kind of get the same kind of kick. People are like, oh, that's a cool idea. God. Like, yeah, you should do that. And I'm like, yeah, I should. Hey, it's pretty cool. Anyway, and then just like not really act on it. Whereas if you don't tell anyone, like, it has its downsides, because you can't sort of bounce ideas off people, but it also has the upside that you sort of put that energy into actually doing it rather than talking about it. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I often like brainstorm about pieces I want to make, and I've got like years and years worth of like ideas and paintings that I want to make eventually. What I do is I usually thumbnail them, and I thumbnail them really shittily. So it actually gets me excited to like make the piece.
Oh yeah, that's smart. See, it's kind of like a challenge to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think I've decided I'm going to be a bit more like, keep my cards a bit close to my chest about ideas that I have, just so that...
I don't know. I think it goes both ways. Like, when you do say it out loud, you do lose a bit of steam. Like, it's exciting then, but saying it out loud keeps you kind of culpable. Like, people...
Yeah, that's true. People definitely hassle you. Like, people are always asking me, like, oh, how's the card deck going and stuff.
Like, yeah, it's going. Do you want to ask everyone watching, like, if they have any questions about anything, or like...
Oh yeah, I've got one question. I'm just curious, because obviously I put a fair bit of time into making sure that the cards are kind of true to the original conception of the tarot deck, and I try and read a bunch of different sources, and then sort of hand that on to Julia. So I'd be curious just to hear whether people feel like the visuals are kind of respectful of the original deck. I think they are, but I'd just be curious to see what other people think. You know, it's nice to get feedback sometimes.
Yeah, so anyone out there, if you've got a tarot background, yeah, any tarot notes?
Mention how what about, you know, how the there's obviously the minor cards, but then there's also the court cards, and like where's your head at around how you're going to do the court cards? Like, are they going to, you know, like
Well, the court cards, just, you know how at the moment with the major arcana, each suite has like a color story. So like the top plane is like all orange, then purple, then blue. I was thinking of doing the same with the court cards and the minor cards. So I'm just seeing them all as like one long line of having the same color story and the same symbols. So like with swords, they'll all be in the same color palette, I think. And it's the same with like all of cups will be in the same color palette. So I don't want them to be too disconnected from the court cards and the minor cards. Yeah, I'm seeing them working all together, like collectively.
Totally. And we'd kind of discuss like potentially doing like portraits for the court cards, like something a bit more like portrait like.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely I want to do portraits for the minor court cards. I was actually thinking of doing like some portraits of us and like some other people who might be like influential in our lives.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Just because I know after all this time, like we were discussing like doing celebrities, but I think with celebrities it ages it, and it also, for me, I don't do any fan art. It feels a little like false and I don't know, like not genuine. But I think if they had portraits of us or other people that actually mean something to our lives, I think that, you know, I don't know if people can feel it when they're reading cards, but they can like sense, or people who are into tarot are already really intuitive, so they may sense the falseness in it. You know?
No, totally. Like, and it would have to, yeah, anything like that references kind of real people would have to kind of be real in that sense as well, I think. So that'd be cool. Like, yeah, some people in our life, or like even maybe some of the people who have helped out with the project, or yeah, be cool to kind of have like at least an option for like a portrait as part of the Kickstarter. So like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I'd love, actually that'd be incredible. Maybe we could include some followers and some people who've been really loyal and include them in the deck. That would be really, really awesome. I don't know, everybody, if you're watching and you've watched this far, pop below if that's of interest to you.
That's
What court card would you be? I mean, for me, I just like swords. I just love swords so much.
I like the swords too. Yeah, I think I'd definitely be one of the sword cards, because yeah, I like that the sword's all about like the intellect and the mind and things like that. That's kind of how I conceive of myself, rather than like a really emotionally driven person. So yeah, I think I'd definitely be one of the sword court cards. Yeah, maybe the Queen of Swords.
All right, Jules. I feel like we've given everyone watching so much information of where we were, where we are, and where we're going. Yeah, I'm glad we did this chat to just let everyone know how it's all heading. Yeah. Stop texting me, whoever's texting me.
Check out these amazing backgrounds. How good are they?
Beautiful. Okay, Jules. I'll chat to you soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Bye.
Bye. Okay everyone, we're back, and I hope you enjoyed getting to know the project. If this is your first video here, or if you've been following along, you've got a big catch up on where everything's at currently. Yeah, I hope this was interesting, and it was nice seeing a little peek behind the curtains and seeing all the planning that goes into this ridiculous project. I hope now you're excited to follow along, see all the cards that develop over the next couple of months, and eventually back our Kickstarter. Make sure you like and subscribe the video if this was informative, or you just want to like help out a local creator. All of that helps my channel immensely and I really appreciate it. And if you want to head over to my shop, grab yourself some pins or the Zoom backgrounds, you can head over to zekeslunchbox.com. And if you want to see what I'm up to in between videos, head over to all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Zeke's Lunchbox if you want to see what I'm up to. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best, and all of you for being super patient have been this. Like, truly, thank you so much. All right, bye.